So I don't know why I never played this as a kid, but I finally got the chance to sit down and play it all the way through. Um, and I have some thoughts. Let's talk about it. I don't know if there's anybody else out there like this, but if you're like me, for some weird reason, I never wanted to play licensed games. For one reason or another, I just figured they were going to ruin it for me, and I was a huge Batman fan. Not only did I like the movies, but I was also a huge comic book nerd, so I was super Batman heavy at the time this came out as well. So for me to pass on this, I can't quite wrap my head around it. And I did this with more than just Batman. I didn't play a Star Wars game till way later in life, and I'm a huge Star Wars nerd. But now, all these years later, after hearing all the hype around the game and how many people actually love this thing, I figured I'd sit down and give it a try and see if it's actually worth the hype. I tell you, the first thing that really hit me was the graphics. I was super impressed with how well the graphics were done. Not only the characters, like the Batman and the other characters running around, were fine, they were really well done, but the backgrounds looked to be so well detailed. It was really, really impressive for an NES game. I mean, it really made you feel like you were in Gotham. It was super gritty and gloomy looking, but every little bit of detail was still there. One of the big things about this game that were talked about so much was how difficult this one is. So I really prepared myself to sit down and get ready for a grind. After playing the first level, though, I was kind of surprised, to be perfectly honest. It wasn't as difficult as everybody had made it out to be, or at least so I thought. Even the first boss was pretty easy. I think I might have died once, and then the second time through, I was able to beat him. So yeah, going through that first stage, I was like, well, maybe it's not as difficult as everyone talked about, but yeah, that's where it ended because the rest of the game got super difficult. The nice thing about this difficulty, though, is it's not cheap. You can learn how to, get good at this game, and it's going to take you a while, but you can get good. Except for some of the bosses, which we'll get into later. But yeah, the overall stages, you can learn how to get through them pretty easily with a bit of practice. Speaking of the weapons, you have a barrage of weapons at your disposal. You have like your batarang and this gun that shoots like 3 different ways, which really help you out through the stages, but you have to be careful because you do have to collect pickups basically to make sure you have enough ammo to use those weapons. One of the super weird things that they decided to do with the weapon selection was you actually have to push start to select your weapons and select to pause. Why they decided to reverse that, I have no idea. So I was constantly pausing the game by accident, thinking that select would, I don't know, maybe select a weapon, but no, instead they switched them around. So some of that caused, I don't know if it was frustration, but it was confusion for sure. It certainly wasn't enough to detract from the overall fun of this game, though. The overall feel of the game kind of feels loosely based around the Tim Burton movie, more so with just the overall aesthetics of it. I mean, there's things that don't coincide whatsoever, like fighting fire demons, and I think there's ninjas that you have to fight in this one too. So they definitely take some liberties, which most video games do, especially back in the NES days. Where this thing really, really shines, though, are the controls for sure. That wall jumping mechanic that everybody talks about, it is so well done. There's a lot of strategy with that mechanic as well. It's not just like your typical jump from one wall to the next and you kind of go in the same position. You can kind of not time your jumps, but react to your jump in midair, so you can jump and then cling onto a wall, then maybe fall a little bit, cling on again, then jump up, so you can kind of position yourself in different places depending on the objects that are coming up. There's even places where you might not think you'd be able to get to, but what you would have to do is kind of go over to the end of a ledge, fall down, grab onto the wall, and then wall jump up. It really, really unique and well thought out mechanic that I don't think enough games used back in the day. And the rest of the controls are super tight and responsive. Sunsoft absolutely nailed all the aspects of it, whether you're punching enemies or shooting your rockets or boomerang or whatever. Everything just, again, super responsive, super tight. Never felt cheap. I never felt like I died because the controls were in my way. It was just, yeah, those controls are so well done. Let's talk about the music in this one as well. I don't think it gets nearly as much love as it should. I felt like the entire soundtrack was spot on, and each stage, it felt perfect. It was moody and just really put you into the whole vibe of the entire game. I'd even say it's easily in my top 10 soundtracks for the NES. Getting back to the bosses a little bit, this is the only part of the game that I felt, I don't want to say it was cheap, but I felt like there was a lot of RNG happening there. For example, when I finally got to the very end and fought the Joker, I died on the Joker probably, I don't know, at least a dozen times before I beat him. It was probably more than that, to be honest. But when I finally did beat him, I beat him like that. There was like very little effort, and I don't feel like I really switched up my strategy at all. It was just a matter of how the RNG worked, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I did accidentally switch up the strategy, but let me know if other people have felt the same way about the bosses in this one. Other than that, though, yeah, this game was an absolute gem, I thought. If you were like me back in the day and for whatever reason didn't want to play movie-based games or licensed games, and really it's for good reason because a lot of them absolutely suck. They did ruin a lot of licenses back in the day, but this was definitely not one of them. It's not a super expensive game, I don't think, either, so you can get your hands on this if you want a physical copy to play, or there's a million other ways to get your hands on this to play it. However you decide to play it, though, I definitely think it's worth everybody's time to check this one out. It still holds up today surprisingly well. I would pick this up at any point and play it and still have an absolute blast with it, which you can't really say for a lot of old NES games. So is Batman the video game still worth the hype? Yeah, it absolutely is. Like I said, it still holds up. You can play it now, and it's still just an absolute gem of a game. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts of this one were. Were you like me and you didn't play many licensed games for whatever reason? And as always, if you like what we're doing here, do that, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. Dude, hit the button. There's a bell. Click something. I think it helps somehow. I don't know. Nobody cares. Who cares? Thanks, everyone, and we will see you in the next video. Late.